So in addition to talking about 2006's Charlotte's Web in comparison to the book, I also got to talk about it compared to the 1973 animated film. Talk a little bit about my thoughts about that. The animated film, the 1973 one, I loved it. It's not one I watched often in childhood, at least not in my much younger years in childhood when I first became familiar with the movie, because it just, frankly, there were more exciting movies such as Disney films that I was more interested in watching. But Charlotte's Web, on the other hand, as I got a little older and a little more mature, I was really impressed with the fact that this movie could be colorfully entertaining and yet be quiet and be thoughtful and just an all-around impressive film, even without its connection to the book. Here, with this 2006 film, now, would I say that's better than the 1973 movie? No. But it is still a really good movie on its own. And I think it deserves recognition. Here's the plot, in case you didn't figure it out. A young girl named Fern Arable, played by Dakota Fanning, notices her father, a farmer, is about to execute a young runt who she eventually names Wilbur, because, well, he's the runt and there's no room for him to be fed or taken care of. But she's able to convince him to let the pig live, and she begins raising him herself as a household pet. They spend all the time in the world together until the point where he gets too big, and her parents insist that he be sold. However, they give him over. However, he ends up in the possession of her uncle, so that way she can visit him anytime he wants, and he'll never be that far away. However, Wilbur at the barn discovers that he's eventually, by the time Christmas comes, going to be slaughtered in order to make smoked bacon and ham, but a spider named Charlotte, played by Julia Roberts, and insists that she'll start writing messages in her webs in order to be able to get the town interested in Wilbur and see him as a miracle pig so that he will be safe. Also lists the help of other farm animals such as the goose, played by Oprah Winfrey, and the reluctant rat Templeton, played by Steve Buscemi. Can they figure out how to protect Wilbur and keep him safe? So, yeah, I'd say that I've heard a lot of this movie was not just simply computer-generated effects, but animatronics as well, and the two blend so well together you barely notice when they're doing. I mean, granted, you would notice. I mean, the scenes where Wilbur does backflips, I can't imagine an animatronic did that. That would have been awesome and amazing. But at the same time, again, the fact that they could and they did make these animals so believable as actual animals, you give them a lot of credit for that. The fact that, and yeah, you wonder how much of an input Nickelodeon had in this movie, because a lot of the immature jokes you'd see in a Nickelodeon movie, you don't see in this film. In fact, I don't think I ever noticed this before, and I'm kind of kicking myself for not realizing it, but there's actually a heavy Christian influence to this story. And I suppose it's made even more clear with this film than it was in other iterations, such as the book or the original movie. And not to mention the fact that unlike a lot of the live-action Disney remakes, this movie isn't relying on the original film all that much in order to be good. It's actually doing its own thing and relying on elements of the book that I don't think were represented in the original movie. So it does make a difference for that reason, too. So, you have... Also, they give Fern a bigger role in this movie than they did in, I suppose, the book in the other movie. Because, well, yeah, I mean, they have Dakota Fanning playing her for one thing, and they have... and then they need to keep her relevant in the story, so... And yeah, the way they add her in, like, we see more of her reactions to what's going on. We wonder, why the heck is Fern not saying anything about the fact that her uncle is going to kill her pet pig? And they do address that in this movie. I give them credit for that. And they give credit to the fact that she's the one who comes up with the idea to put Wilbur in the fair so that she has a chance of proving his worth and thus keeping him from getting killed. Also, Steve Buscemi, he does a really good job as Templeton. Julia Roberts, she's carrying on Debbie Reynolds' role well as Charlotte. And if I have any complaints about the movie, it's just that the 1973 film was better, and the songs were better, and that the Christian influence wasn't as heavy there as it is here. And I think that was important, that you don't oversell it. But at the same time, I mean, you get something like the scene in the... there was a chapter in the book, which I really, really liked, where Fern's mother talks to a doctor about whether or not she thinks it's healthy for Fern to be spending so much time around those animals and thinking that they're talking. But then the doctor defends her as saying it's good that she has such an active imagination and that, like, she sees the world a certain way that kids are supposed to see it and such and such. And then Beau Bridges, the scenes where they have him play that role in this movie, he sells it really well. So, yeah, I did kind of get the chance to see that expressed in this film, and I really, really appreciated that. So, again, this is another winner for Nickelodeon movies. This is one that I really think is worth the effort in watching. So, yeah, aside from this being some pig, it's certainly radiant, terrific, and no doubt, humble.